Hello. Hello. Hello, everyone. Hello. Hello. Am I audible? Hello. Hello, everyone. Hi, Rituparna.
Hi, Ayushree.
How are you?
I'm well. So, are we backstage or are we on stage? Okay, we are on
We
stage.
are on stage. Hi, Shikha. Good
Hi
Hi,
Rituparna,
evening.
Shikha.
how are you? Hi Ayushree.
I'm well.
I got to know that you were invited for the event I'm doing in Delhi.
Urmi, yes,
Yes.
Urmi told me, yes,
Yeah.
but I'm not, I won't be able to go on Sunday.
Lovely. I would have loved to see you though after
Yeah,
that.
I know.
Yeah. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm very good. Is Smriti joining us, Ayushree? How are you?
Yes, she is. She joined for the test also at 5 o'clock. So she'll just be joining. We'll just wait a few more minutes, like around 2 to 3 minutes, and then we'll start.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Smriti.
she's here actually.
Hi, Smriti.
Hi,
Hi,
Smriti. Good evening.
good evening, everyone.
Good
Good
evening.
evening. So I think Shikha, we are good to start,
Yeah,
right?
let's start.
We'll have everyone joining, and Smriti and Rituparna, thank you so much for doing this for us, and taking out time for the Vidphone show, in collaboration with Mothers United Movement, which is led by Shikha. Smriti, of course, I think you are connected to Shikha, and you know Shikha. Shikha is referred. Rituparna, it's the first time I think you are meeting Shikha on this platform.
Yes.
And I'm sure along our conversation, as much as we will get to know all of us more. And very excited for it. Thank you, all the viewers, for joining us. Just to let you know, Rituparna and Smriti, we are now live on all our social media channels as well. That's on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So, please feel free to share the links. The links would be shared on the comments for those also, in case you want to share across. So
Sure.
I would just start by telling you, everyone who have joined us for the first time, by telling a little bit about the show, about why we are doing this, and then go on to introduce Rituparna and Smriti, and then hand it over to you, Shikha. So, the Vidphone Show, this is our fifth session of the Vidphone Show, and in collaboration with Mothers United Movement. We have restarted this. We had done 3 sessions before with Shikha, and we saw really, Shikha was the one who inspired us to really do a session on moms. We were earlier doing, we were doing a women centric Vidphone Show, where we used to talk to entrepreneurs, founders, leaders across spaces. We had targeted shows like shows in sales, shows in tech, and then when we collaborated with Shikha, we found this beautiful concept of inviting moms. And because we really feel we want to open up our platform to all moms, for them to come tell their story their way. And today, in fact, our session is about storytelling. Why must a mom tell her story? And no one better than Rituparna and Smriti. You guys are the leaders. You guys have been talking about this, so really excited to have you both here. A little bit about Vidphone. Vidphone is an hybrid work suite platform where we work with you to help you craft your customer journey, and all as well as manage your employees, all in the same platform. That is from getting a lead to actually getting to the stage where you can say that you have successfully converted a client. We help you do everything on one platform, and we have a set of video communication tools through which we achieve this. So that's all. I would keep that at it, and I would now introduce Rituparna and Smriti. So thank you again, both of you, for taking out time for us today. So Rituparna Ghosh is the founder of At Your Story Bag, a story coach, a podcaster, a communications consultant, a TEDx speaker. Thanks a lot, Rituparna, again. I know we'll get to know a lot more about you as we move on to the session. So I would keep my introduction short as of now, so that we can hear more from you itself. Smriti Lamech is the
Lamech.
AVP at Genpact, DEI Advocate, journalist, editor, and entrepreneur. When I saw both your bios, and I always tell this, there are so many things, and while I'm literally trying to put that into 2 lines, it's always very difficult, because all you amazing moms do so many things. So, and I tell Shikha, obviously, Smriti, so you will tell us a lot more about her as we go on the session, and we'll get to know about Rituparna too. Over to you, Shikha. Thank you again, Shikha, for, collaborating with us on this, and look forward to a great session ahead.
Thank you, Ayushree, Vidphone, Jagat, everybody, for opening up a platform for mothers. And just specific mothers is itself such a vast thing. And coming forward and giving us a space to talk about it and taking it to your audience and many more people, it's been incredible doing this show. And as far as audience who's joining it, I am the founder of Mothers United Movement. I am originally a baby and child photographer, India's first baby and child photographer, and 25 years working with mothers, mother of two. This is my bio. Mother of two is supposed to start coming very first. I'm training myself to say I'm a mother of two, and then I start with what I actually do because I take pride in that. And it's a pleasure having Smriti and Ritu. Of course, I'll get to know Ritu more in the conversation. And Smriti, it's been incredible, incredible. I've been so fascinated with what she's bringing stories through dolls. We'll talk about that as well, and that's just incredible work. So Ritu, let's start from you, as we've just met. Stories, and we will go why mothers must tell their stories, because that's what the whole project was, that every mother must tell her story her way. Yeah, that's the specific thing. She should tell it her way, not the way the world wants her to tell the story. And having said that, you got into storytelling. You've got into being a storytelling coach. What's the importance of story? Let's start from there for the audience. Why must we tell a story?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ayushree, Shikha, and hi, Smriti. Nice to meet you. Uh, let's answer that first question in a very brief way by talking about what I felt when I became a mom. I remember my the day I was to deliver. The night before that, it was an emergency C-section. I lived here in Delhi, but my parents are from Jamshedpur, which is a small town. And it was a very conscious decision for both my husband and me to travel back to a small town to deliver a baby, our first and only son right now. And both of us, the whole world told us, you must be crazy that you're leaving a big city, and big city, uh, the perks of being in a big city, the big hospitals and everything, and you're going into a small town. But that time, we were like new parents. We had no idea what it takes to be a parent, and we thought if we go back to more senior experienced parents, which are both our parents because they both come from the same town, and having both of them close to us would give us a lot of confidence. But my son decided to be born a little earlier than his due date, and my husband couldn't be home for the time that I was to be delivering him. And I'd gone for a checkup, and the doctor said, "No need to go back home; just go straight to the hospital because you're delivering tomorrow morning." I remember that night, those having those first jitters that am I ready for this? Because all the 9 months go, and you're suddenly very excited for this new phase. And touchwood, my health was very very nice. I was working and driving and doing everything. Not a morning, not any day of morning sickness. Nothing. Everybody gave us such horror stories. Uh, but that night, I touched myself in my stomach and said, "Tomorrow, this whatever's inside is going to be out. Am I ready for it?" And that moment, it was like a wave, Shikha, which just passed through me. And I found myself saying, i I was perhaps born to do this, to have this moment, right? It's a very cliched thing, for women to think that you're only born to become mothers and your identity will become motherhood. It's a very cliched thing, and society makes you feel that. But nobody had ever told me that you need to have babies or things like that. I was not one of those, and I still am not. I totally vouch for friends and colleagues and a lot of my very close people who've chosen not to have children, and I completely support them. And I think, and I always say, your life is not incomplete without a child. So I'm somebody like that. But that moment, that whole emotion that surged through me, and really that was the switch. Because the next day when I saw the baby, my son, I was like, he doesn't know what is he coming to. So there is a past, the world which has gone by before he's arrived. There are people in his lives which he doesn't know, and it'll take him years to know what's a mother, what's a father, and his grandparents and everything else. But all that he has is his parents and perhaps his mother, the closest, uh, who will have to help him make sense of the world, right? How is he feeling? How to respond? So to answer that question is just that the mother's role or a parent's role is to help a child build his story in the world. That when I feel hungry, I can cry. And when I cry, I get food. If I'm not well, I need to tell my parents. If I want something, I know this. This is who I get love from. This is who I get friendship from. This is how I will look after myself. Everything the child is seeing in the world is through the parents and through the mother who if she chooses to be with the child while the child is growing up, is that encyclopedia of helping the child making sense of the world. My one of my closest friends delivered her second baby in April, and I saw him some months back. He was about 6 months old. Last year he was born, uh, and sorry, he's about a year old, and now he very very funnily he says, "Ye kya hai?" You know, and he cries and he says something. It sounds like "Ye kya hai." We don't know whether he says "Ye kya hai" or not. We just assumed he's saying "Kya hai." And our fun thing is that, why does he say this? And I said, no, because he must be a great philosopher who's chosen to come back to this world. And he's only looking at everything around and saying, Ye kya hai, ye kya hai, ye kya hai? And he's expecting the mother to help him figure out. So she says, ye aeroplane hai, ye badal hai, ye pankha hai, ye jhadu hai. So she does everything to that child. So, yes, to answer that question, the mother's role and why she needs to tell stories is to bring context into the child's life. Who is he or she? What are the things around him or her? How to interact with everything? And can be done through a beautiful story.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for saying that. And I also feel that stories are easy way to remember things. Not only a mother should tell a story to the child to add to your this thing, a mother must tell a story anyway,
Oh,
because
yes.
the fact that she thinks she's not worthy of telling her story, that her story doesn't matter, that the fact that who will listen, matlab, everybody becomes a mother. That's the first thing that you hear. What's the big thing that you become a mother? Everybody becomes a mother. And then, like, but I have a story. I went through this and it was very unique to me, but why should I? Why should I tell my story? Because, yeah, everybody becomes a mother. My mother became a mother, my sister became a mother, everybody became a mother. So, here with this little initiative, what we are doing is we're just saying that let her tell a story, because you don't know, in spite of the same, she still has something different to tell you. And that's why in the book we brought 100 shades of mothers. There might be 1,000. I couldn't get 1,000 interviews, but there might be 1,000, there might be million. And the idea is every shade must bring a space for herself to be able to express herself. And we are doing it through photography, we're doing it through self-portrait. So thank you so much. Absolutely a great point that if your mother is a great storyteller of her own story and for her children, she can really raise a generation with a lot of love. And stories teach us so much. Sometimes we're telling a story, and when we get a permission to tell our story, we don't even know. Sometimes I'm telling a story, a part of my motherhood story. I'm like, really, that was a great story. But till the time I didn't tell that story, I didn't know it was a great story. When I hear on the other side, like, I relate to you, Shikha. I was like, really, it was worth it to tell you that story. And we have so many paths as mothers. And when our children hear our story, they sometimes come and pat our back and say, wow, that was great, ma. You really did that. So thank you so much. We'll go on to Smriti, who's been a journalist. I had some connection with her past when I article had come long time back in Femina, and then something we met her, and then I was so fascinated with her way of telling story through dolls. And then Rituparna, even Smriti is originally from Delhi and moved. The thing is, the 100 stories, I start telling their story more than they start telling their stories. I just know their stories so well. I've lived with them in my dreams every time. So, yes, Smriti is from Delhi, and I must let her tell her story because I tell your story to a lot of people, Smriti, as well. From Delhi to why am I forgetting the name? It's with K.
Kodaikanal.
Kodaikanal. Yeah, I know it was coming, but I was about to be wrong. Delhi to Kodaikanal to the dolls to now what you're doing. Smriti, the stage is yours. Why must the mother tell her story? But before that, how did your story evolve? And then we will, Ritupurna just very nicely told her story evolving. So tell everybody how your story evolved, and then we will take on to why a mother must tell a story.
My story evolved a long, long time ago as a mother, that is. I have an adult son. I have two children. My elder one is an adult now. I moved to Korea. My life pretty much revolves around my children. And I think that's the important part, that a mother's story so often is shaped by her children, and mine as much as the next mothers, I suppose. I was just telling someone today, rather coincidentally, that I knew I wanted to be a mother since I was 14, because I mentioned that, my son's an adult and leaving this year for college, and my daughter leaves next year. And honestly, I had them so young that I don't know who I am as an adult when I'm not a mother to them. I have a very full life. I run a venture. I have, I work a corporate job from Monday to Friday. On the weekends, I run a venture of my own. So it's not like I don't have a life beyond my children, and yet I don't know who I'll be once my children leave home. I live in Kodaikanal precisely because I moved so that my children could go to school over here. I moved them out of the city, out of the pollution. My younger one is an asthmatic. And we moved to live in the hills, and I moved with them. I mean, they could very easily have gone to a boarding school. Many children do that. But I followed my children to the hills. And some of the best things in my life have come out of motherhood. For instance, here we moved to the hills so that they could attend school here and be far from the pollution of the NCR. And we got locked down in the pandemic, because this was about 6 months before the pandemic. And in the lockdown, I met some ladies who were running self-help groups, and they asked me to help them. And I'm a journalist and a storyteller, and I had no clue. I said, I'm not a marketing person. I have no idea. I'm also not a seamstress, and I don't know how I can help you sell your stuffed toys, because that is what the self-help groups made. They made stuffed toys. And then it struck me that there are stories out there, stories that belong to women that aren't being told often enough. And so I'm going to use this media to tell these stories. So I worked with the ladies. We crafted these feminist dolls. Some of the stories people have heard from, you've heard of Kalpana Chawla, you've heard of Frida Kahlo. So those are stories that you already know, but there are so many more. And there are so many people, you and I might know these stories, but these are stories that others don't know. And so I worked with them to craft these dolls. And with each doll, I wrote a letter from the doll to the child who was buying or whoever was being gifted the toy, telling this woman's life story. Because stories are how we relate to the world. And these stories needed to be told. They need to be told more often, to more people, spread wider, further. And, it's time for my kids both to fly the nest. And obviously I'll always be their mom. But while being their mother and while shaping their story, I ended up crafting something amazing, which would never have happened if I hadn't been their mother, if I hadn't been so concerned about them inhaling that sort of polluted air in the NCR. If I hadn't taken that chance and moved out of the city, this part of my story would have been incomplete. To answer your second question, Shikha, I think motherhood and storytelling are inextricable, because stories are how you relate to the world, and mothers are how you relate to the world. It's what Ritu said about her friend explaining to her son that ye pankha hai, ye aeroplane hai. You make sense through a story. You also make sense through your mother. Your mother is the first person who helps you connect with the world beyond your immediate four walls. So yes, it's there. I find that there's a very fine line between being a mother and being a storyteller. And it's important for us to tell our stories, because no one else will tell them. There is a book called Who Cooked Adam Smith's Dinner? Adam Smith, the economist. Because, we talk about all these famous men. You know who Nehru is, you know who Gandhi is, but do you know who shaped them? Do you know anything about their mothers? How much do you know about their mothers? How much do you know about Adam Smith? How much do you know about any path-breaking work that was done by any scientist, about Einstein? Who gave them the space to go out there and do what they needed to do while they managed everything else for them? It's the women in their lives. It's that invisible labor, so to speak. So these stories need to be told, and it's funny. But a couple of days back, and my daughter's an artist, and she was asked to do some project for school. And one of the first things that she did was, through art, she depicted my husband and my marriage and our love story and the way we eloped and all of that. And it was so fascinating to see my story through somebody else's eyes and through somebody who I taught to tell stories. So we've sort of come full circle.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And that's why I brought both of you together. though Ayushree, we have a list of how we have to go, and then me being spontaneous, me being like, okay, next is going to be this. The topic changes totally. It's not from the original list anyway. So and I think Smriti knows this well as well, that it just, that idea has to just get struck, and then I will just go for it. And Rituparna and both of you brought the mother story, and so I will stand up for why the mother should tell the story to the other mothers, because yes, our children need to hear a story, but the mother needs that space to tell a story to others, because the inspiration has to pan out from her and her child as well. And to just tell an incident, that when I was doing this project, my 2-year-old had got burned. I was taking the interview, and suddenly I heard a scream, and he had poured boiling hot water, tea on his face. I shut the thing and I ran down, seeing him on the floor, and I rushed him. And of course, he was burned badly, but because of my SOS, he got saved. I had to stop the project at that time. And the guilt comes up to you that, why am I doing this project when my child is sitting there? And it's not my fault. It's just boiling tea right next to him, and he pulled the whole thing on him. And when I ran barefoot to the hospital, holding him. One hospital denied, 2-year-old we can't take, while I was doing the SOS, and that saved him. Having said that, I kept my cool, and I was through and through there, and the hospital said, you will not be able to see this, because I had pulled his shirt and his whole skin came off, because his skin had got shut, it's got stuck to his thing. And I said, except me, nobody else will hold him. I can hold him better. So you will not see a tear in my eye, and watch me do this. And he said, ma'am, you'll not be able to see us do this to him. So I said, watch me. You will see it. And his face was gone, and his chest was gone. And I just kept on holding him, and I kept on soothing him. And of course, I was breastfeeding him at that time. He was very young. I breastfed him for 2.5 years. Nothing was working for him. And well, he settled down. Doctor said, superficial burn, looks horrible. He'll be okay. He'll grow new skin, and touch wood, he's out from it because of the SOS I gave him. But I'm not cried about it till today, because I was told so. And even today, the scream is like stuck into my ears. And the guilt of doing a project of mother, really, you really want to do it? And then my 10-year-old, who's 10-year-old now, he was 8, came to me after 2 months and said, Ma, you said 100 moms, you just stopped at 75. And then he patted my back to complete it to 100. And when I turned 40, I was the 100th mom. So, well, I tell this story very easily to mothers. And just recently, what happened, why am I telling you this story today, is I got a neighbor's call. And she called me and screaming that my baby's got hurt. The head is swollen. I said, calm down. So I was like, is the blood coming out? Like, no. It's like, no, it's not coming out. But this is not normal. I said, if you feel it's not normal, rush her to the hospital. On the way, she puked, blah, 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 and then many things. And she was immediately admitted to the hospital. And then a message comes from her. Thanks for your story. I'm not shedding a tear. I'm so strong that your story is making me sit here and make my child get through this. And that's where my success came from. My success is not the Prime Minister's letter. My success is not the mothers coming from different parts of the world. My success is that my story gave another mother who was sitting alone somewhere trying to heal her child, take that story and say, thanks for telling my story. When I received that message, and I'm like, I'm glad I told that story to you. Right? I'm glad that it gave you strength. That's the power of stories, and that's why we're talking about stories today. So, yes, I'm getting a little on the emotional side, but stories have this power. Stories have this power, and I think a person doesn't live one story, they live multiple. And once you start discovering, and if you start sharing, whether it's mental health issues, whether it's depression, whether it's pregnancy, whether it's C-section, whether it's whatever, we must tell a story. So having said that, let's give a story from both of you to the world today, and tell a story that you think will inspire any mother listening to it today here. Saying, Smriti, you want to go first? Please go ahead.
Oh, caught me off guard.
Yeah, that's okay. I like to catch people off guard anyway. So whichever story comes to your mind, because you went off mic, so I thought you wanted to go first. Any story you think, and like the reason why I'm saying tell the story, tell it like a pride that you did that, so that the other mother can say, I can do it too. I started the project saying, if she can do it, so can I. And I have ample messages coming to me saying, if you can do it, if you can tell your mother's story, I can tell my mother's story. If you can talk about mental health, I will talk about mental health issues. So let's say anything from your life, because more authentic we are to gift a story and not be, miser about, I don't want to share this one. Let's do it. Let's go ahead, gift a story to the world.
I think I started with telling you a story about moving cities for my kids' education. This isn't the first time I've done it. I've done it before. Earlier, my husband was posted abroad, and I stayed there for a while and realized that I wanted my kids to grow up in India and I wanted them to attend a certain school. Since I'm not promoting any particular school, I won't name the school. It's not a secret. It's just like, it's not about the school. It's about what I wanted for my children. And so I just packed my bags, moved back with my kids. Then when I found that the pollution wasn't working for them, so I think one of the things that I would like people to think about is that you are not a tree. You don't need to plant your roots anywhere. If something is not working for you, get up and move. Make that change for yourself. You are your child's biggest advocate. No one's going to fight that fight for your child. I mean, yes, there are ways. I could have sat in Gurgaon and worked towards climate change and all, and those are all long-term goals that we should all be working towards. But in that moment, I had only my child to be responsible for, and I did what it took to make a difference to my child's health. But one of the stories that I do like to tell a lot of people is, especially younger moms who are struggling with balancing home and work, is that one, times have changed, and there's so much more flexibility. There's so many more. The idea of a career has been broken. You don't need to be just a doctor or an engineer or have a career that takes a path. You can shape your work to fit your life. My son was 45 days old when I decided I was going to go back to work. Everyone was against it, but I was very clear that if I'm an adult and old enough to have a child, then I'm old enough to take decisions about my life and my child's life too. And I was reporting at that time, working for a lifestyle magazine. And I took my son everywhere. I used to carry him in a wrap, and he has been to interview film stars, VJs, chefs. I remember this, he must have been 2 months old, and I was interviewing a VJ. And it was a young bachelor home, and they had nowhere for me to put him down while I was doing the interview. So I just opened up the wrap, laid him down on the ground, and he lay there happily while I did the interview. And suddenly this massive Alsatian walked into the room and came right over the baby. And I paused mid-sentence. I was like, oh my God, my child has never, this dog is like 5 times my child's size. And the VJ also stopped talking. I stopped talking, and we're both looking. And this dog sniffs my son. My son looks up at him, and he gives my son's face one big lick. Like his tongue was as big as my son's face at that point. And my son just smiled back at the dog, and I exhaled, and I was like, excellent, I can continue with my work. And I went back to interviewing. VJ exhaled that, okay, interview will continue. And the dog just sat down next to my son, and I finished a 1.5 hour interview. My son lying there peacefully next to the dog. I picked him up, washed his face, and went home and, filed my story. And thereafter, I knew that I could take my son anywhere, and he would somehow just go along with whatever was happening. And so I traveled. I did travel writing. I reported on hotels. I reported on restaurants. I reported on venues and locations. And I took this child everywhere until I was pregnant with my second one. And then it was just too much to be carrying 2 children and reporting. But I began to work during their school hours and shape my work around it. And I think my son must have been 8 when I realized that they saw me as an individual with my own life, because he would come home from school and the first thing he would say is, Mama, have you had lunch? And if I hadn't, he would go serve me in a plate and put it in the microwave. If I'd had lunch, he'd say, do you want coffee? And he taught himself to make coffee for me, and he would bring me coffee to my desk. And at that point, I learned how motherhood is not just a one-way relationship. My son has learned from me to care, and so he cares back. I mean, what he's learned from his mother, that love is service, love is giving, love is doing for people that you love, and he just began to do that and respect that space. I mean, he was only 8 years old. He didn't demand any time or attention. He'd come to me, he'd sit with his cup of milk and chat about his day or whatever, but he would bring my cup of coffee and sit with me and work with me. And so I just want to tell, this is the story I want to share with other mothers, that don't feel guilty. go out and get what you want to get. Your child will be with you. Doors will open up, windows will open up. Where a door shuts, a window will open. Your life may not take the path that you thought it would, but it will still take you down some very beautiful roads.
Beautiful. Thanks for adding to my dictionary or my encyclopedia of more stories about you. And I thought you would tell your mother's story as well. A very beautiful story you had written online when you received the book and you sent
Oh,
the
right.
log.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you post with her. And even my older one, I have till 9 months I was photographing, I was going for shoots, and then I carried him 40 days post to a lot of my shoots. Couldn't do it with the second one.
Yeah.
But with one you can carry, and the
Yes.
second one anyway thinks he's a photographer since he's born. So he would snatch my camera. So I dare not take my camera to a shoot with him. So Rituparna, this is the only question I'm going to ask because I can talk. Storytelling is like something. I'm a photographer. Visual storytelling. It's just one of my favorite topics. But this is the only question I want to ask. What's in for you? A new story that you thought, well, this would inspire another shade of mother, and we give that story to that mother as a gift today. Whoever is listening, or will listen in the future, or will meet you. So the stage is yours.
Thank you. I'll take a leaf out of Smriti's story. I wanted to be the journalist that she could live with her son, of carrying your child around. But when I became a mom, and I told you already that I decided to go home to my parents to deliver, and I took a few weeks earlier maternity leave. My boss decided otherwise. He said that, okay, if she's taken a maternity leave, she's never going to come back, or even if she does, her priorities have obviously changed. And I was leading a team doing very well. I had lots of people reporting to me, and I was the poster girl for my team in television. And suddenly, while I was in my maternity, I was demoted. Somebody else was hired in my place, and I was told to report to that new person without any questions being asked, without even asking, spending time on who I am and whether do I want to do that. So, what it did to me while I was away, and there was a family emergency, my brother met a terrible accident, and we nearly lost him. So I chose to use that as that fillip to step out, because I said I can't step down. Definitely, I will not step aside, because I don't deserve it, and there is nobody who can decide that my priorities should change or will change, or what if they change? I can still carry on. So I chose to step away. Uh, but what it did to me, Shikha and Smriti and Ayushri at that point of time, was fill me in with this huge sense of inadequacy. Something which I have shared in many ways later on, but not then. Because while I was going there, I was trying to be the strong girl to my parents because they needed my support. I was a young mom, again, lost a job, to be really honest, putting it that way. And this whole sense of loss of identity. Who am I? You know, that is a phase which happens. People go through postpartum blues. But for me, it wasn't the postpartum blues. It was this whole slap across my face that you are good for nothing. You're just a mom, right? And that just a mom thing was like terrible for me, because I'd given all my life to my career and I'd worked very hard to be where I was. And it was so easy for somebody to take away that identity that you become nothing but a mom. Thankfully, all of that resentment didn't go to my child, because every time he smiled, a part of me sort of lit up. And I said, let me try to be the best mom that I can be. Okay. And I'm grateful for that sense of feeling of positivity that happened. Why am I sharing this is because today I work with a lot of mothers. As a story trainer, I help women transition into becoming children storytellers. And through my work, a lot of women step into this field after they have become mothers. And they have spent some time without being nothing, nobody. There are a lot of women who've only been mothers. They may have had a degree before, they may not have had a career before. They don't have a past life. They're just mothers. And their entire identity is so wrapped up, they think very lowly of themselves, that I'm just a mother. I have only worked with my child. Can I even step out and call myself a children's storyteller? Can I even have a career? And a lot of young mothers, they limit themselves. I've had mothers and grandmothers and mothers whose children have flown off the nest. They have come in And mothers whose children are about to fly off the nest, they suddenly see their mothers becoming these animated storytellers for children, and they said, what happened to you? Why did you never tell us stories like this? So the way the children look at them has changed. I tell my story when I work with storytellers, and I can see some of them in the audience today, because I want to validate that you are nothing but just a mother who has a heart beating for one child. Tomorrow, when you step out in front of many children, they are somebody else's child. Just remember that. Your child is your guinea pig, is your biggest confidant, your critique, your support. Make your child your biggest supporter. Because when you do, you will get that strength from your child. Because we do that, right? We saw Shikha beautifully shared her story of protecting her child and being the strong one. Your child also gives you that strength, telling you that you can go out and perform, do your thing. When my son was about 3, and I started stepping out to tell stories to other children, or children would come to me, and even he was a little kid, and he would sit, he would get very anxious if other kids came and sat on my lap. He would get very anxious. He was the only child. So obviously he would get anxious. He would push other children away, or he would try to nudge and fit himself, or he would try to help me and pick up my things and props, because if somebody else touched any of my, a rattle or a musical instrument, he would quickly go and snatch it away. It's my mother's, you know. So that kind of a behavior, I had to sit him down, and I told him that, do you like it when I tell stories to you? He said, yes. What do you like about it? And he listed a lot of very interesting things. And I said, you know what? These children, maybe their mummies don't tell them stories. Is it okay if your mummy tells them stories? That was the day he said, yes. I'd like you to tell stories to other children like me. He never, never, never disturbed or stepped into my story ever again. I took him for my first travel for work when he was about 6 years old. And he, for the first time, saw 500 children sitting and cheering his mother. And he sat in the middle of them, children much older to him. They were middle schoolers. He sat listening to this story, which he couldn't understand because it wasn't for him. But he poked the children and said, she is my mother. I saw it while I am telling this story. And it gives me goosebumps that your child gives you so much of confidence to go out and share yourself in the world. That if, and it happens only when you tell your story to your child. Who I was, how I lost my job, I went through a deep dark hole, how storytelling rescued me, how every time I told a story and I saw him respond, because that was the first impetus to me that I have to find out what's happening in his head, right? And that opened up this whole world of exploration for me. And I've told him this story several times, and he knows it. He knows what transition I made. So today, uh, we do interesting things. If I'm going to perform somewhere, we share what we're doing. He's my first listener in my podcast. He tells me what I should have done, what I shouldn't have done. In fact, not just for my children's stories, for all the work that I do for businesses, not for profits, everything he knows about what am I doing, and he gives me valuable inputs. In fact, I was teaching gaming to somebody and storytelling and game design, and he was the one who was giving me all inputs about games and how what kind of storytelling happens in games. Very recently, I got a call from somebody, and while I was explaining my work, I thought I did a good job. So while I was driving home, we had these very interesting conversations, and I told him, Vahan, I think when I talk about myself, I sound very nice, and I'm sure the other person is convinced, because she went on, wow, this is amazing, brilliant. I've never heard of this. She went on, and he listened to me, and he said, Mama, you know what? Sometimes people say things, but they don't really mean it. In school I have seen, a teacher, so somebody she's talking to, and on the phone she has this very flat face, and she goes, wow, that's amazing, ma'am, this is wonderful. I know she does not mean anything, so maybe she was just saying that she doesn't mean it. And this is an 11-year-old giving me advice to not believe into somebody else. My story for every mother is to talk to the child, share a part of your insecurities, share a part of who you are becoming in this world. your past, your present, what do you want to do. Make your child your ally. Because once you have that ally, that child becomes your team. In our home, between my husband, my son, and me, we call it Team V, because we say that, your parents are your support. Whatever you need, tell us, we will be there. But I know my son is my team too. My husband is my team too, but I know my son is my team too. He's thinking for me because he knows my story. And it is important for mothers to share their dreams, their unfinished dreams, their aspirations, so that the child can step forward and help the mother do that. Ooh.
So, so you can see us still.
Yes, I can. I'm still connected.
Wow, lovely. That's beautiful.
No
And
problem.
oh, that sounds. I'm a photographer. That light's even more dramatic and nicer.
Yeah, of course.
I like that. I like the dance of the lights. So thank you. And I just totally am with you. I have my own son cheering me up all the time. His whole school knows I've done a book. The minute I step in, he's the biggest PR guy I have met. Anything that he's all there. And recently, his vision board, he came to me and was like, I'll do my vision board my way. And I was like, fine. I will not interfere because I'm being very honest. Try to be all there is a lot of tiff, right? There's something vision board my way. Say, come on, you can take my help. I'm creative. No, I don't want to do that. No, I'll do it my way. And then he goes and takes a picture of the prime minister and puts a letter that I received from the prime minister in his vision board for his future to say, I will do something when I will receive a letter from the prime minister. I never told him to do that. That's how they're watching. That's how much they're watching you. That's how much they're sharing you. When I received the letter and I couldn't believe it, he was the one person who was like at the age of 10. He didn't know what it was. He actually, I think I'm underestimating. He exactly knew because he saw these mothers stepping out of the screen, who he was talking to across from different parts of the world, actually coming to his house and having like lunch and dinner and staying in his bedroom and playing with these dinosaurs and bringing him stuff. So he knew what happened, and somewhere he's very, though we have our own opinions all the time at the age of 10, also we are just like, this is right. But when he put that letter of what I want to receive in the future, I've paved a path for him to say that mothers can dream and achieve and receive without really telling him that's how you do it. Because I always say, pick your children up on your back and climb the mountain so that they exactly know how to climb the mountain, and then they see a better view from the top and then tell the world that this view is better, rather than sitting lying low and saying, let's leave them behind. It's very tough to hold them. It's too heavy to carry them with us on our dreams. We might slow down a little, but it's okay. We will learn, they will learn, and I think our work as mothers would have been done. So beautifully, I think all three of us are very aligned with our children walking with us and doing things. And it's so beautiful, Rituparna, to even hear that. I mean, I'm a visual person, so I could imagine him sitting in the audience, and so that's my mother, and that's a beautiful visual. It's such a sense of thing, that we are proud of our children, but our children must also step in and give them an opportunity that they can be proud of us and say, "Ma, we did it." So Ayushree, I'm on an emotional journey of how many years? I think very soon fathers are stepping in because my message is now going to the fathers. So till I can talk, please take over because I can talk. The storytelling is my favorite subject. Please take over with your question, and we will.
Yes. No, thanks a lot, Shikha, for those beautiful questions. And thanks you, Rituparna and Smriti, for sharing so much with us on this session. I was just, listening to all you mums, and you all are really, really inspiring. And I just see how, we have done a few sessions until now, and we have different mums from different age groups. Last week, in fact, we had mums who were above 60. One was in fact 78. From the US, and it's so beautiful to see how the stories connect on each session. Like maybe on the last session, like Shikha, we were talking about how it's so important to leave a legacy behind that that are good for your children. And today Rituparna and Smriti has been just saying that they learn from what they see, and that's so important. So I was just thinking how it's already, Shikha, while we were deciding the topics, I think we were thinking, each topic should lead into something in the next one. And now I see how beautifully the sessions are leading, like, all mums are connected by these common things, that we hear on each session. So it's been really lovely, to hear you both. And thank you so much again for agreeing to come to the show and sharing your stories. I have one last question for you both. Thanks, Jagat, for joining in. We'll come to you in a bit. Rituparna and Smriti, I want both of you to give us three quick tips for mums, that you feel. I won't just say on why is storytelling important. That's one part, and you can obviously touch on that. But, as a whole, three tips from you to all mums and others watching you today.
Uh, so it doesn't have to be connected to storytelling.
I mean,
Anything.
it can be, but any, if you want to tell mom something else also from your experience, feel free. I don't want to, because you have been talking about storytelling, of course, and you have already given a lot of tips on storytelling. So if it can be storytelling, it can be something else that you want to share with moms too from your journey. But three things that you would like to, three quick tips that you'd like to give away.
Uh, I feel very ill-equipped to do it, even though I have an adult child now. I don't think any one person really can advise other people because our journeys are so different.
Yes.
But one of the first thing I'd say is be honest with your kids. And I don't mean honest in terms of the tooth fairy or Santa Claus. I mean honest in terms of when you're breaking. If you're exhausted, if you're angry, if you're tired, be honest with your child. Don't be cruel, be gentle, but let your child see you for the human that you are, and let your child see that it's okay to have frailties and it's okay to have flaws. That would be the first. Show yourself in your authenticity to your child. That child has come from within you. You've birthed that child. They've known you from the inside anyway, so continue to let them know you from the inside honestly. Number two, I would say be your child's advocate. No one else will. Right till the end. My kids know that no matter what they do, they can never do something so bad that they can't come and tell me about it. I will help you fix it. And by that, I don't mean that I'm going to make excuses for you. But if you have made a terrible mistake, I will help you make amends. I will help you plot the path forward. I will help you apologize. I will help you make up for wherever you've gone wrong. But come to me, give me the same honesty that I have given you. I deserve it. That's the second one, that, be your child's advocate, help them go forward. The third, gosh, don't sweat the small stuff. I find that many mothers get so worked up about my child doesn't eat green vegetables and my child doesn't drink milk, or my child is, he wants to spend the entire day at the playground or spends too much time on screen time. All of these are important things. Yes, our job as a parent, your job as a parent is to make sure your child eats healthy and consumes everything healthy, be it what the quality of the content they're consuming or the quality of the food you're consuming. But none of those things, and I realize that today, amount to, they don't define you as a parent, and they will not shape your child in any which way. Eventually, the kid, your job, so apparently somebody asked Michelangelo, how do you carve such beautiful sculptures? And he said, it's already there. I just take the extra pieces off. So it's not like we're not shaping our kids. Honestly, they're already there. The root and the shape and the core of who they're going to be is already there. So don't give yourself so much credit and assume that every bit of food that you're feeding or every bit of screen time that you're denying or giving is going to make such a big difference. It will make a difference, but at the end of the day, you can't take too much credit or too much blame for anything that they end up being. That's it.
Thank you so much, Smriti, for so lovely putting that across for all of us. And I understand when you said, that not one mom can define maybe, and set rules for everyone else, because everyone's journey is different. But I'm sure, the idea behind this entire show is that while you are giving us these tips, at least one mother gets inspired by these and takes these. I mean, that's a win for us. Like Shikha and I always say, if even if we like we are successful in inspiring one mother with your tips, I mean, I think we are there. Rituparna, over to you. For your 2 to 3 tips that you would like to share.
So, don't be the don't be afraid of being the only one to do things with your child. What I mean is, everyone grows up listening to every child should be doing this. It's great to be doing it. This is the formula. This is the template. This is how parents should be. This is how children should be. Every child is different. Every parent is different. Figure out your own way. There is no right or wrong. There is only your way and your child's way. So don't be afraid to stand out from the crowd to do that. The second is make room for stories, because only if you understand the other person, because that's like I beautifully Smriti said, that yes, we are taking the extra things out and the child is already there. It is destined to become there. We're giving the right impulses, we're giving the right nutrition, we're giving the right positive vibes, everything that we can be to that child. The child will develop the way he or she wants to grow up to be, but make room for stories to understand what the child is going through. So I have this concept called living in a story, particularly for children, because as much as we are into their lives, they also have a life of their own, and it's important for children to have a life of their own. And we be aware that you cannot orchestrate everything in their lives, and you should not. Your role as a parent is to give a space, a safe space, for the child to come back and tell you things, like Smriti already said, but also to let the child figure out how to do it, because you can't do it for them. You can do it when they are very young, but as they grow, they have the ability to be able to do that. And what are the tools, or what are the mechanism with which the child decides what is the right thing for the child to do? You can do this only by sharing stories, not by using your stories that I did it like this, so therefore you do it like this and you will get 10 on 10. That does not happen like that. This is what worked for me. Let's see what works for you. What do you like doing? How much of time do you want to spend? Right? So, as much as giving the child the tools to create his own method, or his or her own methodology, that's important. Understand that every child is living in a story. So, where the child goes out and comes back with bad grades, we blame it on the teachers, we blame it on the son, the child, that the child is not interested in studies, but there's a reason behind it why the child is behaving the way he or she is. So, ability to understand that. Number three, be open to accepting that you don't know many things, or the mistakes that you did, or the limited knowledge that you had. The fact that you have evolved too, you have also grown as a human being, should be open in front of a child. What were you like? So do share it. What were you like when you were 10? When were you like when you were a teenager? What were you like when you left home? You always ask this in a lot of my workshops. Who were you when you left home? And a lot of people leave home at different times. A lot of people leave while they're going to college. Some people leave early because they went to a boarding school. For them, that's the time. A lot of people leave after marriage. A lot of people never leave home. So they've never become them, their true selves. So what and who are you? You've changed too. So use that as perspective that, when I was 10, I did not know this. This was so wrong. But when I grew, this is what I questioned. This is what I knew. So treat your child with a lot of respect, that I'm not the custodian of all your answers. I have evolved, and allow yourself to evolve too. So yeah, those are my points.
Thank you so much, Rituparna, for beautifully summarizing. I think you have also there were a few points, I think, which both Smriti and you said, like there's no set rules. Smriti started her discussion. Every mom is different, every child is different, and I hear that so much, and I'm sure Shikha agrees. So thanks a lot, for sharing those with us. What we are going to do with these is also that take out small clips and share it across, so that that is our way of making sure that it reaches a lot more moms. So Jagat, thank you for coming in, and thank you for always supporting. For everyone who's meeting Jagat, he's the founder of Vidphone. Jagat, I would want to hear your thoughts. We have so many moms speaking here, and why we wanted to do this show, collaborate with Shikha. And the idea behind I was just telling while we started the show how we wanted to open up the platform, so that moms can come here and tell their stories their way. And obviously, Shikha was the perfect person to collaborate with on this, as she has been speaking to so many moms around the world. So, Jagat, your thoughts or anything you want to share, over to you.
Sure, just making notes as well. First of all, what's his name, Shikha?
Veer.
Hi, Veer.
This guy stood
Do
on
you hear
stage
me?
with me and launched the book. He used to be
Okay.
as Klingit a year and a half back as well. So
No, I think he wants to get famous as well. So. Anyway, so first of all, I think today is Hindi Divas. I think it's a wonderful occasion. So Hindi Divas ki shubhkamnaएं sabko, and let's celebrate all the languages. Yeah, I think so many things to learn, right? So first of all, I want to thank Rituparna and Smriti. I think thanks for taking out time and sharing all this wonderful information, and of course Shikha and Ayushree doing this very unique and very interesting kind of format. I don't think there are too many things going around here, and it's really wonderful to see so much insights. For me as well, I'm not a mother, but I'm as close to a mother when I run a company, I guess. But I think a lot to learn for me as well. I think what Rituparna said, right? So I asked that yesterday. I was with a bunch of student entrepreneurs at FKCCI, and I said, the main thing I said is, as an entrepreneur, why are you doing what you're doing? Right? Most people are doing startups today because of what's in the papers, or millions or trillions of dollars, or unicorns. But at the end of the day, you have to solve a problem and be of use to society. Right? That's, I think, very fundamental. So I think that way, moms are very self-sacrificing. Like, my only relation is I have a great relationship with my mom, and watching my wife become a mom to my son. I mean, that whole process also is very interesting. So the dream is very important. I think that goes away at some level. And, with Ayushree, I think not just with moms movement, even I think the moment you joined us, or even before that, with your work at CWE, I think, to me, it's always about, that I don't see the Indian workforce as a male dominated, it doesn't look right, because our finance minister is a woman, the president of India is a woman, and the whole of banking is run by women. So I think it's very natural for me to have more inclusion, and so that's the least we can do here. So super awesome. I think lots to learn, and so thanks again for coming, and thanks to all the viewers as well. Quite a few of you, and really appreciate Devaki and Roshni, Shrishti, and a lot of other people who had joined in earlier as well. So thanks a lot for taking out time.
I just
Hi,
sorry, you're going to hear the little Peppa Pig on the side, but with that showing up, I still want to say that it's been incredible to hear Smriti and Jagat. Thank you, Ayushree, thank you for making this space. But there's a request to the audience as well, that the mother of today needs a community to discuss her story. We need to actively go and create that community and bring the inspiration back to her. So, just a request that wherever you find, like I'm going to take Rituparna's story of the audience and tell to people. I'm very passionate about it. I'll take Smriti's story and tell to the audience. Because I'm not only telling my story, but I'm collecting and gathering these stories. And when passionately some mother comes to me and I say, you know what, Rituparna said this. You know what, Smriti said this. If as mothers we can just keep, because today's mother is feeling very alone, and she needs the village. And if we can make that village for her that she misses, and she doesn't know it ever existed, our work is done. So apart from stories from our lives, if we can share our sister's story, our grandmother's story, our mother's story, and give inspiration out, I think our work is done. And he'll not let me speak, so that's what I wanted to say.
No, thanks, Jagat and Shikha. And obviously, Shikha, that's why we are doing this. And I would really like to thank all the viewers who have joined us today, and so many others who are joining, who are viewing us live. I'm sure our efforts would really be to take Rituparna's and Smriti's stories today to a lot of other mums, and we would really request all of you also to help us do the same. That is the entire point behind this show, to help moms everywhere, wherever they are, to help them tell their stories, basically. So I have also, I would also like to say that, Shikha, like she was mentioning about, she has a beautiful book that's, where she has gotten together 100 moms and their stories. And I have put the link for the book on the chat box too. So please feel free to share, check that out. And, any questions, you can reach out to Shikha. Anything you want to say, Shikha, please?
I think
Yes.
we need to speak to Veer. He's feeling left out. Hi, Veer.
Yeah.
Hi. I'm Jagat. What's your name?
Actually, Veer is recovering from bout of high fever. So,
Oh, me too.
Uh,
Me too. Even I got a fever.
Really? Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh.
I think he's hungry and sleepy now. So.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's okay. But that's what I'm saying. Put them on your back and still show up. So I show up with them and tell them that's how he's already done his public speaking when he was 3 years old.
There's no stage fright, so that's awesome.
Yeah. He's already done. I was speaking. He wanted to come. I said come, and I was doing the public speaking with him on my lap. So he's never going to be scared of seeing 500 people in front of him for sure. Yeah. Thank you so much. I need to attend to him, and I shall come back. Thank you.
No, but that's lovely, Shikha. And like Jagat, he keeps telling we want to see this kind of a thing, where we don't want to say that, the kids should not come in or something. It's so lovely to see Veer joining us on the show today. That was so unexpected.
We should do a kids thing also, maybe. I mean,
yeah.
get something from the parents' consent before that, for whatever reason.
Yes. No, sure.
But yeah, it will be fun. So,
yes.
Another thing is, I just want to kind of,
yes,
from my side, like, I was actually thinking about this today, and how we can kind of take this to a different level. Tomorrow is a very special day for us, Engineers Day. Like for all of us engineers, I think it's super important, and it's also the World Democracy Day tomorrow. Yeah, so I think it's all good. The stars are kind of aligning well, and there's a concept that I'm kind of putting together called Millionaire Moms. I don't know if that makes sense, but we got to discuss that tomorrow because the way that Ayushree and myself, at least like at Vidphone, what we can do is that we make this whole work transition a lot easier. And I think hybrid work, there are different sides of the story, but at the end of the day, I think the women are going to benefit a lot from this because the mom who's just given birth a few months later, she's able to actually sit at home and actually start working. I think that's a really, really big thing because and that's whether it's working at a job, or whether it's actually being an entrepreneur starting off. I'm not saying gun for being a unicorn or something, but they make 3-5 lakhs a month. I think we're pretty good. Each mom can make 3 to 5 lakhs a month using an online platform. I think that's kind of where we're heading in the next few months.
Yes.
Incredible. I think let us know how we can put it forward, Jagat. And Millionaire Mom is great. Millionaire Mom is it's a great idea. Why not? And moms need to be in all aspects. And just before I end I'm not I've not announced it officially, but very soon I want to go to the government. I was talking about it last year, but now I'm going to walk towards it and tell them that the form need to all government forms have entrepreneur when they take what you do. Entrepreneur, corporate, other has to change to mother. Very, very broad-shouldered. I'm a mother. Give me some space and tick it and still fill the form. The other has to change to mother is my next mission because the mother has to very, very, very.
The other and the mother.
The mother must come. I don't care about the other comes or not.
I mean, it's a full-time job. It's a full-time.
It's a full-time job, and it's been said too many years.
It's your own process.
Yeah. So I think in your office, if you can do this kind of a chain whenever you meet, mother must be added, and she must be encouraged to very proudly tick the thing, saying, "I'm a mother. Yes, I'm an entrepreneur mother, or she can tick two. But she must tick mother, and let the world know that I'm doing a job to raising the next generation." So I am.
The moms, we got to get something going so they feel nice about it also.
Yes, they must. Thank you. I think this conversation can keep going.
I want to add to Jagat's mission and offer my help and support. I already help a lot of women transition into a new career of being a children's storyteller, particularly after motherhood or after a certain phase of their life when they feel that they have more time and effort and the intent to create and craft a career. And it's a beautiful profession which lets you change and shape children for a better country, for a better world. It's the future that you are building. And there's a lot of immense satisfaction in it. May not be a millionaire immediately, But
A million rupees as well. 10
yeah,
lakhs.
I mean, I know you may not be able to get that immediately because there are a lot of other factors coming into being, but there is a great sense of purpose that I can definitely guarantee that once you become a children's storyteller, you do definitely see a sense of purpose opening up in front of you. So that identity that I'm just working with my child becomes much larger. The scale becomes immense. So for anyone who is looking to become a children's storyteller, particularly moms who are on a break, please reach out to me.
Awesome.
Surely.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
I shall go
Rituparna.
back to my mother duty.
Yes. Yes, and I think Jagat, what you shared, Shikha, I just wanted to add because just because I'm just connecting the sessions, and I feel because we are talking about financial self-care, which we tend to ignore a lot for moms, which is very important. We spoke about on one of our sessions, it was all about financial self-care. So I think what we at Vidphone are also trying to do, is in a way create a platform where moms can actually come and the outcome is that the outcome is that investing their time on the platform.
I
We
know it's
want
the
to
easier said
ensure.
than done, but we're going to give this a shot. So.
I know,
Yes,
absolutely.
obviously.
It's not difficult. I think
Obviously.
you're on the right path. I totally support it.
And we are already working with so many entrepreneurs on this, providing them the entire work suite in this hybrid world. So I think we have support of all you amazing moms, so I'm sure we would
Oh, absolutely. I'll support it in any way because
yes.
spaces are needed. And believe me, I'm all geared up to start for dad. So Jagat would be one of the guests in dads coming soon. I'm just finishing my mom round and just finishing the thing. There's some formalities, but I'm so inspired because this whole movement is so supported, including now Jagat coming in and talking about so much my fathers that and I've been raised by beautiful fathers, so I cannot resist not talking about fathers. But
You just do maybe parents is a good theme.
that'll be third one.
Yeah.
Absolutely specific to fathers will come very soon. It's calling me. The universe is telling me. You've spoken about mothers. Once I finish this round for another few months, fathers are going to be in next round. 100 fathers coming up. Imagine 100 fathers speaking up. They've never got a platform to speak. They've never got a
Not much to
platform.
say
As
though. Not much
fathers,
to say.
speaking as fathers, not as entrepreneurs, men who are working,
Yeah.
as fathers, and 100 fathers coming ahead, that would open so much
awesome.
for the mothers as well, because the mothers need to also know the father's story. And I'm doing it
Yes.
for the mothers because mothers don't know the father's story
Yep.
and what their heart feels like when they're stepping out away from their child. There are so many stories I hear. I want to hold my child in the middle of the meeting as well. It's not the mother only. So anyway, I don't want to deviate. Niche is important. Focus on your stuff, but I'm very called to talk about fathers soon.
That's okay. It's post 7, so we're good.
I have to go. Mama is
Sure.
busy. Thank you so much. I'll have to go. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Shikha. Thank you, Ayushree. Thank you, Jagat. And it was lovely meeting you, Ritu.
Yeah,
Okay.
same. Bye. Take care. Thank you.